Welcome to Drinking with Authors. We are at 400 episodes.
Woo! I can't whistle. I don't know why I was going to try to whistle.
I did it. I got it. So it's all good.
And she froze.
Oh no!
Yes,
And that sums up
watch. She's going to
Perfect.
text me in a minute. I'm like,
she is.
There she's back.
Okay, well, that just makes it even better. Welcome to Mountain Internet, my favorite in the entire world. We just recorded another episode of something and it didn't have any problems. Of course, I get onto this one. It's like the world's going to end. Welcome to the Drinking with Authors curse. Anyway, 400 episodes. I have all of the amazing hosts, Danielle Orsino, Bo Lake, Valerie Willis, Jen Paquette, Mark Muncy. We've done a lot of talking to people. So let's because I think the last one of these we recorded was 300. So it's been 100 episodes since then. How's everybody? Danielle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? How's everybody doing? How are we all hanging in there?
We're doing. I see that Mark is surviving. I was, I think, during the 100th episode, I think I was surrounded by Home Depot moving boxes.
Yeah, I think it was, and now that's my job now. So
yes, we're taking turns. It was Erica that before that.
Yeah, I think back at the first one.
Yeah. I love that the TARDIS is still behind him.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm putting it all. So yeah, that's where it's got to go. It's got to be bigger somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's been 100 episodes. Everyone on this podcast is a writer as well. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys, because let's see, 100 episodes was about a year ago ish. But I don't know. There's a producer who keeps track of all this shit for me. But let's talk about what you've done writing wise for the year. So put on the spot, Bo Lake.
I was like, don't put me on the spot. Don't put me on the spot.
I know, I could tell. I felt the vibe, and I was like,
just
we're
not looking at the
screen.
It was awesome. It was well played.
Well, in the last year, I think I put out the last book in the Wolves of Wharton series, The Beast Like Me. And Jen Paquette and I have a web novel coming out in the next month. Ooh. So that's exciting too.
Nice.
Wow. Very cool. Did you want to say the names of them, or were you just hoping people would know?
I don't know when this is coming out. It might already be out. Everyone already knows.
It's on Yonder app. The title of the web
I can answer that question. This episode will air on October 3rd.
All right. So have already come out. Yeah.
What is it called?
It's called One Mummy to Go.
Please.
In the Shawarma Warrior King series. Shawarma Warrior King.
I love that. That was actually almost borderlining on painful, Bo. So I'm going to go to the next person, but when called upon in the future, eloquence. Okay, Mark, what about you? What have you got this last year?
Well, I think when we recorded this last time, Erie Appalachia was just coming out, and that hit pretty darn well and is all over the place. So now the audio version is out and about and attempting to be to be distributed everywhere now. And then I'm also working on the Erie Travels podcast since then. And we've been doing that with our wonderful host, Erica, there. And
thank you. I didn't pay him for that, but now I have to.
No. I expect my $5.
Slip him a $5 bill.
Let me sell it right now. Just kidding.
$5. Thank you. Ding. There it is. All right. But also, we're actually going to be doing some Erie Travels books.
Yeah.
So that is on the process. And we're, the tables of contents are being finalized now. So.
And you have Erie Southeast, which should be coming
Erie
out.
Southeast should be out early next year. So
very, very, very cool. What about you, Miss Valerie Willis?
Do you guys really want to hear this? You might want to pick me last. Let Jen.
No, I don't. Okay, fine. I'll pick you Jen Paquette. What about you, my friend?
Well, one mummy to go, please, with the lovely Bo Lake. I also put out a world building book that should be out by the time this episode airs.
Yep,
Your
September.
general guide to world building. So check that out. What else did I do? Oh, I wrote Heart of Stone, which is a Rockstar Fae romance on Yonder, the web novel. And I'm working on the next one in that series.
Yes. And for you, me and Val, when she gets to it, when this airs, I believe the next author's accountability guide will be up for pre-sale, which will be nice for all the authors out there that need to be held accountable.
Must own.
Yes, must own. Danielle, my friend, what have you been up to?
I finished volume 1 of Birth of the Fae. Is out, done, out of my head. The voices have finally stopped for now.
And that's how many books in that series? Because Forgive Us is the last one, right?
Forgive Us was book 6 plus the novella Fire Ice. And then the video game should be out hopefully by the time this airs. So everybody can adopt their own little Los through Meldiverse, and they'll have their little dragon following them around in the AR world. So that should be out by then. And then we'll be working on the Dragon Index, which I'm doing right now. The last novella in the Birth of the Fae world for volume 1 that'll kind of tie up those loose ends, Heart of War, and then I'll be working on Birth of the Succubus.
So exciting, so exciting. I'm going to go, and I have not been nearly as prolific as the rest of the authors, but we have an anthology series that's demonic, and this last one was demonic medicine, demonic workplace. And so those will be coming out here shortly. And then I actually contributed to 2 nonfiction books, which were through a company called Launchpad, and they're to help authors with how to write your novel, how to publish your novel, and how to market your novel. And I helped with the publishing and the marketing. I had a chapter in each of those, which was kind of exciting. We have the accountability planner, and I think by the time this airs, the first chapters in my Yonder web novel, which is called Jump, it's book 1 in the Meat Sleeve series. So yeah, I debated that series title, and then Val's like, you gotta go for it. It's called the Meat Sleeve series.
The Meat Sleeve. Yeah, double down. Yeah.
Yes. So that's exciting. Val, do you want to talk about the Meat Sleeves you've written? Just kidding. Horror. That's not got that right connotation. It's a horror book. It's not a sex book.
So because I totally don't have a family and a company.
Yeah, could you totally stop putting your hands in front of your face, you weirdo? You know how mics work, right?
So I started the year finishing Beating It with Bloody Mary. And then in 3 weeks, I wrote The Champion's Lord, which is a Yonder book. It's out. It's got like over 5,000 reads and like, I think 9.9 star.
Okay, we're not talking about how many reads we got. We're talking about what
we like a focus on.
He's such a braggart.
And then I finished another Yonder novel called The Queen's Incubus.
Hands down.
And it's out.
Val, put your hands down. I don't know why the sudden you're doing this, but
because I feel
she's embarrassed of herself.
We're the only ones looking at you. I'm gonna cut you off if you don't keep going. Let's do it. Hands down.
All right. So Queen's Incubus, Champion's Lord,
Val's House of Music.
A short story collection of over 100K, and tightened that up. And then right now I'm halfway through with Assassin's Saint, which is going to be the 3rd book in the Princess Priest under V.C. Willis.
And the Rebirth.
Oh God! I also edited and tweaked and got the Tattooed Angels trilogy out. So that's Rebirth, Judgment, and Death. I totally forgot about that too.
Yeah. So and you're going to have the accountability planner out as well. So that's exciting. There's been a lot accomplished from this band of awesome hosts of the show. It's very good. We didn't talk about what we were drinking. How the hell did I skip that? Okay.
Because Matt froze you for this.
Let me go back. I started drinking a lot of it. So Lucas Lamont was on this show and introduced me to pineapple juice and Fireball.
Oh,
I do not recommend driving after this, but it tastes really good. And the reason is, if you've ever been to like a Brazilian steakhouse or something like that, they will sear the pineapple with cinnamon on it. Like that, they'll cook it. And so that's basically what it tastes, is like a cinnamony pineapple, which might not sound great. And a lot of people have the face like that Mark has right now, but it is thoroughly amazing. And so that is what I'm drinking. Danielle, what are you drinking, my friend?
I have I'm boring. I have mango juice and orange juice, but I have it in my cool cup. So it's okay.
That is a cool cup. I
like
love
that
that.
Yeah. That's courtesy of Erica. So,
It's beautiful.
Well, Danielle does way better at looking cool with the various sundry drink holders than we do. Mark, what are you drinking?
I am having Morbid Curiosities. I am drinking their Bell Book and Candle, which is very buttery and daring. And I have to say, it is a very buttering and daring chai. I like it. So I can't argue.
sounds good.
Enjoy the chai. Jen, what are you drinking?
I'm just drinking coffee in my Jack Skellington mug. I got home late last night. It's a coffee moment.
I understand. Val?
I was running late, so I managed to grab water. I'm like, I just need something.
That's okay. We all know many episodes, which we're going to talk about, Val and her drinking. Bo, what about
I
you?
just also have coffee like my co-author Jen.
I like it. Okay, so great. I'm the only drink. That's very nice.
Someone has to get drunk though.
You're doing the heavy
Might as
lifting.
well be you.
Yeah, no, I guess it might as well be me.
Alcohol.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite things from the last 100 episodes, because everybody remembers that. Everybody does. I can see the look on people's faces.
I was gonna say I
Because we
remember
all did the
nothing.
deer in headlights look right there. It was perfect. So.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think we've had, and we continue to have, absolutely amazing authors, but we did have the opportunity to have some different kinds of authors, because we had some game designers on in this last 100 episodes. We had some graphic artists on. We had some comic book authors and artists on. Like we've been able to branch out a little bit to the other creatives in the field, which has been an absolute ton of fun, right?
I think my most memorable one this year was and you're gonna remember as soon as I say it. It was the author, I can't think of her name. I'm so sorry, but we'll put it in the comments. But she was the FBI investigator, undercover cop. And
oh yes.
Yeah, and just being able to hear about that, how it influenced her writing, and the idea of being someone else for 3 years or at a time.
Yeah, she was undercover for 3 years. She was a totally different person.
Wow, it was an incredible,
That's crazy.
like, it's amazing to hear how different all these authors' inspiration and how much of it is inspired by real life events. And that one was really a hard-hitting one, because I mean, it's hard enough to wrestle my imaginary friends. I couldn't imagine having to be a different person and things like that. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's very true. It's like acting 100% of the time. I think it's interesting, our later in life authors. We've had several that were like, I wanted to write a book forever. I retired, whatever, and then wrote these amazing stories and finally made these dreams that they've been talking about come true, right? That it's very interesting to talk to them and to hear their stories about doing that. And it also says to me, don't wait that long. Don't wait that long, or whatever point in your life you're at, take the time to achieve your dreams of writing, if that's your dream, right? Because nobody's ever gonna. I was on a show the other day, Central Valley Talk, love the show. Danielle introduced me to them. And one of the things he asked me about was, all of the writers and things like that. And one of the things that I brought up was writing happens to be one of the few industries where you don't just get something and then you have that thing. Like if you think a lot of industries, there's obviously people collect things, but there's a finite number of sneakers generally people have. Not that you can't find cute ones, but you have your whatever staple flip-flops and stuff. Maybe you have a few pairs, but you don't go buy 7 pairs of flip-flops a week, where people will buy 7-10 books a week and read them, right?
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic. So it's never like somebody's going to be like, oh, we have all the books we need in the world, we're done,
Never.
Never. So as Jen, who's one of those very avid readers, will tell you, that absolutely not. You will never run out of stuff. So I think it's really important to fulfill your dream. And I would recommend, there's tons of books out there. There's tons of groups. I would recommend those Launchpad books, because it's a combination of experts in the industry trying to give some guidance on what directions to go and some of the pitfalls. So throw that out there as part of that. What about you, Bo? What have been some of your favorite things for this last 100 episodes?
I think what has been really interesting to me is getting to talk to authors that I know and learn new things about them, like Paige Lavoie, Lyra R. Sains, like scraping past the surface level that I knew about them and finding their insecurities about writing and their what's worked for them. And it kind of made me realize that I wasn't alone in having these thoughts about my writing career, and hearing other people who I admire and really say those same things has been really enlightening.
Very cool. What about you, Danielle?
I think talking to some of the nonfiction writers and authors that we've talked to, and hearing the process, their difference in processes and things like that, I thought was really interesting. The woman we talked to about consent.
Oh yeah, yes.
That was a totally different conversation that I didn't expect at all, and just how she approached it, and the difference in her philosophy toward it just sparked a conversation I just didn't see coming, but I thought it was really interesting and something that needed to be said, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't see it. I didn't think it would evolve to that. So I thought it was really interesting, and once again, something that we kind of needed to get out there, but coming from the podcast of just, hey, let's talk about how you write, to what it turned into was really cool.
Agreed. What about you, Mark?
For me, it's always fun to watch the new the new writers' journees. We talk to so many first time or second time authors, and the journeys they've gone on. And even the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's fun that they all have different inspirations to bring them on board, and then they all just have that, how do I get this first book out? Which path am I going to choose? And that's always just fun to watch. We talked to one young lady who was very happy that she had gotten her first novel out, and it was just fun to watch, because literally the rest of the house is moving around behind her because they didn't understand she's on a podcast, she's promoting her book, and the family does not know how to support her in this, and it was just fun to watch. So
it was, I think it was nerve-wracking for her, but very fun
she
to
was
watch.
So panicked, and we were like, it's fine. It's
fine. It was people going through doors. She kept trying to move the laptop around, like, what is even happening here? Okay. What about you, Jen?
Well, they all said all the cool stuff. No, I like when the last person called on what they said. No, I like when at the very beginning of the podcast, the person's super nervous and they're not really answering. They're just like, how long have you been writing? A long time. And then they don't say anything. I like watching them over that first few minutes kind of relax a little bit and open up. And then I love when they get on a different topic that they're super passionate about. You're like, is this the same person that we started talking to 20 minutes ago? So I like when you figure out what it is that the writer, yes, we're all into writing. We all like talking about that. But I like watching when they really hit their stride. They're like, no, let me tell you all about, the intricacies of topic X.
No, I agree. I love that too. I think it's interesting. And I would love your opinion. I've seen a couple of themes that come up in our show. One of the themes is people get very nervous, to your point, Jen, to come on. But after they're on the show, I think we universally hear, oh my God, this was the most fun I ever had. This is best because it's just a conversation. We're not like putting, here's a spotlight, you must tell us all the things. It's like, so how you doing? Like, what are you up to?
So-
Where did you come up with that idea? And I think that makes a difference for the comfort level. Thoughts?
Oh, definitely. Like a lot of times, I know if anyone's been prepping for their press kit, like as an author, they tell you have some pre-written questions and answers to provide to the podcast and the places. And often, and Erica can attest to this, we get asked, do you want those? And we're like, no, no, we don't. We're going to sit down, and the whole concept is let's go to a bar or someplace you would hang out and unwind at, and let's just talk. And I think once they realize that that's the vibe we have going, they fall right into it. And it is a magical moment when that tipping point happens in the conversations.
I agree. I always tell them, like, you can send whatever questions you want, but I drink and it's not a good plan. Because as many of my co-hosts, all of them know, I'm lucky if I remember how the hell to do the intro and the exit from the show, let alone remember a bunch of questions that I'm supposed to ask people. Okay, the other thing that I think comes up a lot, I want to talk about this before we do a break, and we're going to do a very fun kind of literary briefs for ourselves, which is I think a lot of authors were not prepared for the fact that they're a business now and they're a celebrity now. And that part is just not clear because regardless of the journey of being published through a small press, the traditional press, self-publishing, however they went, I feel like almost universally, all of them were like, what? I'm a business. I have to do these things. Because when you ask, what were you not prepared for? I feel like very rarely do we get an answer other than I wasn't prepared for the marketing and the social media.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So thoughts?
I mean,
Everybody just stare at me.
Like,
Deer with headlights.
Mhm.
Yes, all of that.
All of the above.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I think it's because, it's a lot of work just to create and write the story and then go back and forth with your editor. And a lot of people, I think the second point that gets missed is there's different levels of editing and editors, right? Your first editing stop should be your developmental editor, especially if you're worried about your plot and character development and the story aspects, not necessarily the grammar. And then you have the line editor or copy editor who's going to clean up your grammar and your commas and things like that. And then that's not the end of the journey. Then now you have to find a designer and a typesetter, and then you have to figure out the platform and get accounts and do this and prep files and then they think they're done once the book goes out. And I think that's the thing. Like, they have crawled up this mountain only to discover that wasn't the top of the mountain, that the cloud was covering the other half of the mountain, right? And I think that's the sensation we get. And I don't think there's enough discussion out there or even blog posts talking about what are the different stages of climbing, for an author creating a book. And I think that's why we see that a lot.
The 5 stages. Just kidding.
I love that image, Val. It's like you climbed a foothill, but you thought it was Mount Everest, but no.
And I think that's true, and something that we I think that's a huge part of also for people to listen to this show. It's fun to get to know your authors as a reader and stuff like that. And similar to what Bo said, I love that. I love getting to know. And some of the authors that come on here obviously are new to us, but some of them we're huge fans of. And we're like trying to contain our fangirling, although Mark literally never contains that ever.
No.
When he's on the show with somebody that he's a huge fan of. Val's pretty terrible about that too. But I think that for a writer, you get to hear all these different things. So you start understanding that hidden mountain or those hidden mountains, and also where the cliffs are on those mountains. Like, where do you need to be aware so you don't go falling and tumbling off this thing that you weren't prepared for, but is obviously hiding in the mists, Jen, the misty mountains. It's
The
hiding.
Misty Mountain, of course.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with the most epic literary briefs that ever epically existed in the 400th episode. So there we
No
go.
pressure.
Hey, listeners, you know me, Eric Lance. You're just listening to me in the podcast that you have. But guess what? I'm doing something new.
Yeah, she's joining me, Mark Muncy, the author of the Erie, Florida book series in Erie, Appalachia, and we are hosting a new podcast called Erie Travels.
Woo-woo! Erie Travels, which covers things like ghosts, cryptids, weird stuff, UFOs, men in black, all kinds of fun things that people talk about, and I'm sure you've discussed with friends.
Yep, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice, or find us at erietravels.com and join in the fun and all the spooky goodness.
And of course, Mark, what do we always say?
We'll see you on the other side.
You better have a backup.
Okay, we're back. And we're going to do a fun literary briefs because we come up with questions all the time. We ask people questions. We usually ask, like, what's your favorite book? That sort of thing. Because I actually love the answers to the what's your favorite and least favorite book. Because everybody goes, oh my God, I'm an author. I can't say bad things about other authors.
Yeah.
But it's not that. You're going, I didn't enjoy this book. Which
Personally, yeah.
enjoy. It doesn't mean it wasn't written well. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means I didn't like it. Now, some of them that I don't like, I don't think are written well, but that's another topic. So instead, because Mark and another good writer friend of ours, Eric Deckers, have started this thing with me, which is I have a favorite book, right? Which is Bimbos of the Death Sun. But now I have like 8 copies of Bimbos of the Death Sun, and I keep getting more copies as they're found in bookstores and stuff like that. Eric Deckers gave me one, that sort of thing. So, and what's neat is I get to see all these different covers, and I absolutely love the book. So it's not like I need 40 million copies of Bimbos of the Death Sun, but I kind of love this collection of this book because I love this book. It's very, it's a tiny little book. It was mainly printed 4x6. It's adorable, but I have different covers. So my question is, what is your collector book that I already know? I think I know the answer for J.M. Paquette, but, and I think anybody who listens knows the answer for this, but what is your collector book? So we will start with Jen Paquette. I want to see if I'm correct. Jen, what is your collector book?
It's going to be Lord of the Rings in
I knew
a
that.
million varieties. Yeah. Also the Silmarillion, but more so just Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King. I have so many. And The Hobbit too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Val, what about you? What is your collector book?
It's got to be anything from Robin McKinley. It took me a while to find the deerskin version that had the cover, which was the very first book I read by her. But she's the one who taught me that it's okay to beat the crap out of your character in order to strengthen them, that they don't have to just suddenly be stronger by the end of the story. You can actually make them fail multiple times, so they're more prepared for that in battle or in game kind of scenario. I have to say she was a big influence, and she was, I was shocked she was in my library at the time because she covers some dark themes at times. So
very cool. Okay. Mark, what about you? I know the answer to this one too, but go ahead. Because
Yeah, it's a close tie, but one edges the other. One was The Haunting of Hill House. I have tons and tons of copies of it, but my love, my passion, the one I collect, the one if I see it for sale anywhere, I buy a copy and grab it off the shelf, and we'll keep it forever and loan it to friends. Is A Night in the Lonesome October by Roger Zelazny, his last great masterpiece, and I read it every October. You read one chapter a day, and if anybody hasn't read it, that is your October book. You must get it and find copies and do it. And if you don't have one, email me. I might have a spare that I can loan.
yes, he has probably 500 copies, kind of like Jen. An entire bookshelf behind her is only Lord of the Rings. Just kidding. What about you, Danielle? What is your collector book?
You know what? I collect comic books, so I don't know.
What
if
is
I
your
can-
collect comic book? Like if you see these comic books, what will you always grab?
I will always go for anything from the Dark Phoenix Chris Claremont run. If I can find the first editions, which are really expensive, I will go to that. His first run in the graphic novel, I'll grab. And I will usually grab anything from the George Perez era of Wonder Woman. I will grab that. I do have a couple of his stuff. And then I have the first appearance of Rogue that Claremont did. And I just got, which Claremont signed, was the first appearance of Firestar that he wrote for X-Men Annual 1.
Nice.
Cool. Very cool. What about you, Bo?
I collect copies of F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby because I love a book where everyone in it is horrible. And I have probably about 10 copies now. I like to find like the really vintage ones, like the really gross ones from bookstores. This is kind of a funny story. We were at the Strand bookshop and my husband was looking for it for me. And he finally finds one on a top shelf. And he's like, how much is this book? And the guy's like, $3. And he's like, 300? And he's like, no, $3. Because we had thought like a 1940s copy would be so expensive. And it was $3. So I have a lot.
Wow. And I feel like whoever was selling that
No.
grossly underestimated
Yeah,
what
I think
the
so.
work was. So well done. Well done with that.
Gotta get a bargain.
Okay. Well, with that, I know Jen has a question. Jen, what's yours? And then you got to call on people to add order that you want it answered.
Okay, I want to know what you're reading right now. Everybody take a minute. What are you reading? Because I'm the editor for Four Horsemen, so I'm always editing, so I'm always reading, but then I make a point to like read separately. So I want to know, what are you reading right now? And I'm going to ask Mark because he looks like he has an answer.
I do have an answer. Martha Wells had just done Murderbot Chronicles during the pandemic, and I fell in love with that series. And so she had just came out with a new one called Witch King. It's a fantasy novel, dark fantasy, and I'm just started that. So that's my current read.
All right, Danielle?
I'm listening to Kim Harrison's latest Rachel Morgan book. I think it's Good and Evil Demons, something like that. Just came out.
Yeah.
So far, I'm on chapter 1, and so far she's great. She's taking over as Sub Rosa. Al is back. So far she's learning to jump the lines. I'm happy. So, I'm always happy with Kim Harrison. She never disappoints.
That's good. I saw that came out. That's on my list.
Yeah.
All right, Bo, what are you reading?
I am reading The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, which is a horror novel.
Okay. Is it scary?
It has darker themes, but it's not scary.
Not scary. Oh, interesting. All right, Erica, what are you reading?
I have 2 because I'm listening to an audiobook, which I have to finish this weekend, which is Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Jeff Strand redid this into a novelization of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. So I'm interviewing him on our Eerie Travels podcast. So one of us is watching the movie. I made Mark do that. And I am reading his book. And then the other one is I'm actually reading Witch of the Black Circle by Maria DeVivo. So because I was in Satanic Panic in the 80s. So I'm super excited because it definitely hits that entire thing. And it's a fun read. So that's where I'm at.
The optimist in me kept hoping. And yeah, they were so good. All right, Val, what are you reading?
Lately I've been reading a lot of comics. So my 2 is The Lady and the Big Bad Leopard and The Falcon Princess, because I like the themes of them, of the lead female character. It's almost, what is it? Lady Hawk, I think is the name of the movie. So it gives me vibes a lot in both of those. So I'm sort of tickling a nostalgic bone. And then I started reading one on Yonder called Level 99 Princess of Black Flame because I was curious. the new trends with them saying what they are like that has got me curious. But so far I haven't been horribly disappointed with the level of writing on a lot of this new trend. So, but that would be what I'm currently dipping my toes into. So
I'm reading a rock star best friend story, like my rock star friend's big brother kind of thing. It's ridiculous in the best way.
Very cool. Okay, Mark, what's your question?
All right, my question is, when we all write fantasy, a lot of us write horror, a lot of us write a little, we've read a little bit of everything. You need a palate cleanser sometimes when you've been writing and writing, and you need to tune out, when you're taking the end of your day so that you can actually get to sleep at night. What is your palate cleanser? Do you listen to a specific song? Do you watch a specific TV show? Do you do you binge a thing on Netflix? Whatever. So let's start with you, Bo. What do you do to palate cleanse?
This is gonna sound insane, but I listen to true crime podcasts to relax. So that's what I do.
That's my missus. She does her murder stories.
Yeah.
All right, Danielle, what about you?
I've been listening to the podcast Just Jack and Will, where they rewatch the Will and Grace episodes and tell you what went on behind the scenes and what their reactions are to watching it, because Sean Hayes has never watched a Will and Grace episode. So it's his reactions to watching him play Jack, and it's hysterical, and I love it, and that's how I decompress.
Nice. All right, Jen, what's your palate cleanser?
I don't write horror, so I watch cheesy movies. I watch Flash Gordon from the 80s, or I watch The Last Unicorn. Those are
Gordon's alive.
I love The Last Unicorn.
The Last Unicorn's good too. Unicorn. You gotta have your favorite bit character from those movies. So, all right, Val.
I have to shut everything down. Because otherwise I have music and other things going on. So everything goes quiet. The house has to be dark. And I'll either read my comics until I get drowsy, or read a chapter of a book, or I'll make the mistake of doing a social media viral video dive. And then I realize an hour later that I still haven't fallen asleep and I just need to give up.
Doom scroll. Love it. All right, Erica.
So I right now, for my palate cleansers, am watching the new Roswell, New Mexico, because I signed up for a panel on, when this airs, it will already pass, but Dragon Con, because they said Roswell, and I was like, yeah, because I love the old one. Jen gave me all the
I love the new one.
Yeah, I know you do. So I do that, or like Gilmore Girls or something. Like I've been picking up on old series, and the Roswell, New Mexico is not that old, but old series that I maybe didn't watch, like that a lot of people watched. The one I'm lining up after Gilmore Girls is Angel, because I can't believe I'm saying, but I never watched Angel. I watched Buffy. I've rewatched Buffy. I never watched Angel. So if everyone could see the looks on everybody's faces here, I just committed some sort of atrocious crime.
Disappointment on everyone's faces.
But I will be catching up on Angel after I finish Gilmore Girls, which is really funny because the character that plays Sam on Supernatural plays Dean on Gilmore Girls. And every time they say his name, it's just, I start giggling, and I probably shouldn't. Why that's fucking funny to me. It is, but because they're like Dean, and Sam turns around and I'm like, I'm waiting for Jason Eccles to come on in and like do the show. Anyway, it's weird. It's fair. So that's what I do. Okay, Danielle, what's your question?
Do you prefer audio, Kindle, or physical book when you read? Mark?
I've got to have physical book. It's something about there was a great line. Speaking of Buffy and Angel, one of the early episodes, Giles is talking to Miss Calendar, the computer teacher, and she's talking about you'll find more in this computer than you will in your dusty old books. And he's like, I love my dusty old books. And she's like, well, what don't you like about the computers? And she's like, he's like, the smell. And she goes, well, computers don't smell. He's like, exactly. The power of smell is one of the the strongest things. It can trigger emotional, outbursts. It can do all these things, and that's me with a book. If I pull out an old book or a new book, it's that smell. It gets me every time, and I can't get that from a Kindle or an audiobook.
Understood. Fun fact, Miss Calendar was originally the backup dancer for Prince when he did the Diamond and Pearls tour. She was Pearl. The other chick was Diamond. Just something anyway. Erica, Kindle, audio,
Audible.
or physical?
Audiobook. I like physical books. I like my Kindle, but timing wise, I actually started using my doing chores, doing, stuff around the house, driving. We all know I do a ton of driving for stuff. I use audiobooks and also true crime podcasts like Bo. Like that I absolutely, as much as I love the physical books, like all the Bimbos of the Death Sun are physical books I get. I have a wall of bookshelves over there, but I find that audiobooks are the way that I'm actually able to get more books sort of quote unquote read, because I don't have the time to sit down usually to do that. If I have time to sit down, I have to do something else with my time, like binge Roswell, so I can know what I'm talking about. Whatever.
You ready for the panel?
I always got to ask questions when you volunteer for panels.
Understood. Bo, how about you?
I am a Kindle girly all day because as someone with 3 kids, I cannot really be holding a book, but I can hold my phone. So that's how I get all my reading
Good
done.
point. That's a good point. Jen, how about you?
I'm not picking a favorite child. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm reading and I want to highlight, or I'm the person I write in my books, so then I need a physical copy. I know you can do it on Kindle, but I fight with it, and I'd rather be able to put little sticky notes and stuff. So if I'm reading for that purpose, then I like a physical. If I'm reading late at night, right before bed, I read on my phone, and if I'm driving, I listen to a book. Usually, I have 3 books going at any given time. So, yes.
Val?
Oh, it varies. It depends what my activity level and things I'm doing. So right now, I'd have to say I'm a digital reader, but in the past, I've been pro audiobook, especially if I'm wanting to consume a series faster. And then back in the heyday, I still kind of do it, is so nothing like Mark said, nothing beats a physical book, but for over 18 months before I moved, everything was packed away. So it was a little difficult. So I've fallen away from physical books for a little bit. So give it some time. I'll probably be back.
Always return. Yeah, I like audio. I'm into my audiobooks right now. I mean, my Audible library is ridiculous. So I'm an audiobook person, but I understand the appeal of obviously having that physical book, especially as a comic book person. I've never gotten into the digital comic books. I like having my comic books, but there you go.
Makes sense. Okay. Val, what's your question?
If you guys could have I guess, vacation home where you go to write, where would it be located at? Erica.
I live in my vacation home where I go to write.
Bitch.
It's true though. For
So
everyone who's seen it, it's up on the top of a mountain, looking out across the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm very secluded up here, so I can go anywhere. The free write, by the way, I cannot say enough about the free write device. It's amazing because it's light and can go everywhere. Yeah, no, I can go out on the porch because I was teasing Mark because I know a lot of you are in Florida and stuff like that. Danielle's up here with me, but it hit the high today because of when we're recording of 82 degrees. What? High of 82 degrees and sunny. Our lovely Jan Paquette just slipped me off. I'm sorry. What is the squelch temperature down there in Florida right now?
106 feels like. But it's actually like in the 90s, so that's like 200% humidity. It's
yeah.
So we're living in the defrost setting on a microwave right now.
Yeah, I just got back from 2 weeks away, and opening the car door when we got home last night was like opening the door after someone takes a really hot shower. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I breathe water. That's right.
So yes, I picked this location because it was going to be my dream location. But I will say my favorite season to be up here is fall, when all the leaves are changing color and I can have like a hot toddy. We all know how I love a hot toddy, and sit out and write and stuff like that. So I'm glad I could rub that in for everyone. Continue asking that question there, Val.
Bo, how about you?
If I could write anywhere, I would say in the mountains. So clearly, I need to come to Erica's house.
Yeah, you do.
My parents used to have a cabin in West Virginia, and I love to write there because you just hear the trees creaking and you see squirrels scampering around, you see deer. So that was where I got most of my writing done. That's why I've not been very prolific recently.
Oh, you can come anytime. I have bedroom.
I'm going to.
Come on over.
Danielle, how about you?
I probably similar somewhere where at least there's a fall season, temperate climate, and with a nice fenced-in backyard for the pups. So somewhere around that area. I'm not sure where. I couldn't say exactly where, but secluded where I can write. But as long as I can have Amazon deliveries.
Okay, see, I don't have that. That I don't have. We actually got the funniest thing in the mail the other day, which was an ad where you can sign up for, like, it's sort of like an Amazon version of Uber or Lyft, but it's to drop off packages, and you get paid to drop Amazon packages at places because they don't come up unless it's UPS or FedEx. They don't come up the mountain. If it's USPS, I have to go to the post office. So Danielle, this mountain would not be ideal for you.
Okay, yeah, I got to find that place.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark?
I would say the Carpathian Mountains was awesome, but that would be if I could go anywhere. I could go anywhere. Yeah, that was that. That was I think my favorite journey of all time. But I as long as it's again secluded, I've got to have minimal distractions. That's my key. So
Nice. Jen?
Somewhere where it rains all the time.
No,
Forks. I went to Forks. It was raining when I was there. Not kidding.
That's what I need. I went to Scotland where it's supposed to rain. It was the sunniest week they'd ever had.
Yeah.
It was sunny every day. I was like, what is happening right now? I can't go
Yep.
outside. Honestly though, I would love to do the Orient Express and ride on a train.
oh, there you go.
Ooh.
That's a
We
good
should
idea.
maybe think
Right?
about doing that as a group. That would be fun. A writer's
That was
retreat.
fun.
It's only very expensive. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. That's okay. One of us is likely to get killed because isn't it Murder on the Orient
It would
Express?
be me at the beginning, and that's fine. That would be
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Well,
Well, we're
we
not
do
going
love
to
you
spoil that book, but if you get
I
killed,
died-
you're not
I get
actually-
died during the opening credits. Right, I'm the body that you find here.
Yeah.
cool. Okay, Bo.
So all of us are prolific, whether it comes to books, other projects like podcasts. What is the thing you've done that you are most proud of? And we'll start with Danielle.
Not book related, probably winning my silver medal for the WKA team for USA. That was probably my moment of, I've done it. I don't have to do anything else. Mickey Mouse is next to me. We're good. I'm finished. I still don't like, the bitch that won the gold medal. I'd like to elbow her off the pedestal. It was by 100th of the point. I kind of hate you, but yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm officially a badass. I'm done. Yeah, we're
Love
good.
that.
You are officially a
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, that was my official moment. Yeah.
Mark?
Oh gosh. The proper answer is supposed to be your kids, but nah, screw them. My proudest moment, I gotta say, was recent because it was after the Curse of Robert the Doll documentary on Travel Channel, and I'm walking in to get my phone replaced, and this guy's like, "I've seen you somewhere, and I've seen you on something," and I'm like, "Well, I've done this. He's just like, "No, what have you been on that I've seen?" And I'm like, well, how do I know? And all this, and I was like, well, maybe it was Curse of Robert the Doll on Discovery Channel, and he's like, no, and then on the screen at the AT&T store, they're doing flashes for October, and there I am on the screen for an ad for Ancient Aliens, and I finally got to see the footage that they used for me on Ancient Aliens. I still don't know what episode it was. And I was like, maybe that. He's like,
That's awesome.
that's it.
That is a cool moment.
That's cool.
Jen?
I'm gonna be a nerd and say my sentence diagramming textbook because it took forever and I love words and it was fun ish.
Only you would say sentence diagramming was
I
fun.
know.
Hey,
Grammar stuff. If you want to learn about grammar, check out my textbook and movies.
Erica?
I think it was, and I know that I'm lucky that I went before Val because I'm quite sure she's going to have this same answer. So I get to steal it from her.
What?
Which, is the creation of Four Horsemen Publications and where it's come to. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. But, it was me, Val, and Jen coming together and all the pieces of the puzzle fit to start Four Horsemen Publications in January 2020. And it's just been completely a wild ride. And so that, and mainly because you get to see all these amazing authors and creatives have this stuff that hadn't touched the world yet. Like it hadn't been out there. So, it's a lot of hard work, I will say, but it's been amazing when you look back because you're entrenched in it. So sometimes kind of like what Danielle was talking about, Mark, you look back on it and you go, because you're there and you're like, okay, we're here now. But if you turn around and look and see what you did and how much you did and how much work it took to do that thing, I am amazingly proud of that creation and everyone who's a part of it. So that is my answer, which conveniently everyone who also co-hosts is a part of it. So it's a pretty badass thing.
Yes.
Top that, Val.
Well,
Yeah, Val.
that piggybacking on that, I think my proudest moment after starting the company is seeing our authors get into their local Barnes and Noble. Like seeing Mimi Francis post a picture when she was the first, right? And she's like, oh my God, I did what you guys told me to do. And bam, there's my book. And then, that's in the first 2 years that we created. Now we're 4.5 years into this and she has a whole shelf. So to see that not only are they getting into these bookstores, but they're growing at the bookstore is exciting. And then to take authors that I know who have been struggling to get their career off the ground for 10, 15, 20 years, have great success in their first year with us, like Paige Lavoie and folks like that, really tells me that we have definitely unlocked some sort of grand achievement and that our vision wasn't so crazy after all, Erica and Jen. Like that there was, we knew what we were talking about. And I felt like before this, we were just like the crazy guy in New York with the signs of the in Disney.
Trying to find our three muses picture.
It doesn't matter because even if you show it, I'm not sharing this video. Oh my gosh. Okay. Bo, what about you?
I like to find like little moments to be proud of because like big things, there are big things, sure, but I like to look at like the tiny little things that like make me proud every day. And Jen and Val already know this, but yesterday I got an email from my local bookstore and I haven't heard from them in a year because I did a signing there last summer.
Oh, I
And they were
remember
like,
that was fun.
And they were like, hey, Bo, do you want to come back? Because we're doing a romance event. And it was so exciting for someone to, one, remember who I am, and two, think of me for an event. And I have imposter syndrome every day of my life, but like that was awesome.
Very cool. That is very,
That's
very
cool.
cool. Okay, so I want to finish up by asking, because as we're all writers, we all editors, publishers, marketing people, like all of us have not only the sort of hat we wear of being an author and podcaster, because everyone on here has done now at this point literally hundreds of episodes of Drinking with Authors, is what advice would you give authors out there? Like, what advice would you give authors who are listening to this podcast? So Jen, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to say that I think a lot of times new authors are worried that their story isn't original or has already been told. Like, why would you want to read my version of the story? And what I will say is that you haven't told it. So we need your voice. We need you. You are the only one who can you. So we need your story in your own words. It has value. Even if it's been told before, we haven't heard it from you. That matters.
Number one so many times when you really look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, now, Val, that you jumped on Jen's because it wasn't your turn, and generally you need to be put in a timeout, and I see we've arrived at that point of this episode. What is your advice to authors out there?
Be proud. I think this is that unspoken thing, and it's a little bit of helping you combat that author imposter syndrome. I have seen some amazing writers write a story and it will never see the light of day, and that stings. I've read some amazing work that I know is collecting dust or they've deleted. Okay, that is terrible, but it happens. But you managed to write a book, finish a book, first off, and secondly, publish it and put it out there in public is a big deal. Be proud of it. Talk about it no matter where you're at. I was in the freaking airport line waiting, and I got an orange slip, and I thought I was going to get a finger up the butt. And the people in front of me are like, "Are you going to get strip searched?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, I'm like, "But if I do, it's going in a Honey Cummings novel." And they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I write erotica." And they immediately bought a paperback right there. So talk about your work. Be proud of what you are. Be proud of being an author. Be proud, whether it's one book or 20 books, doesn't matter. Talk about you being an author. People get excited about it too.
That's very true. I love that advice. Okay. Mark?
My advice is, you think the literature will sell itself. It doesn't. You have to be all the things. You have to be on podcasts. You have to be open to other things. So write the book. That's important. But remember, that's the first step of the journey. There is lots of other things you have to do to get that out there. Yes, everybody is 2 million people are a click away from your book. It's getting them over there is the key. So, getting with a good publisher, getting with a good, a partner, a publicist or whatever. Yes, these are all things you have to learn how to do. So you have to put on your business person's hat. You have to put on your marketing hat. You have to do all these things. And then you have to figure out your personality as an author. It can be different than your personality as a person. But, just remember that you have to have that. Otherwise, it just, it goes away and the book never sees more than 60 copies sold, like 99%. Never see more than 600 copies ever sold. So don't be that 99%. Let's push it to that one.
Very cool. Bo?
I think my advice would be to don't get bogged down in this process being romantic or the vibe having to be right when you're writing. You just need to vomit it out. You can't edit a blank page, as we always say. You have to write your thing. If it's messy, that's fine. Just write it down. If it's out of order, it's fine. Write it down. You can fix things that exist. You can't fix things that don't exist yet. So that's my advice.
I love it.
I like it. Danielle?
I think building on what Mark and what Val said earlier is have a plan. Don't go in with just, I'm going to write a book and then I'll go viral. I'll put it on TikTok and everybody will just figure me out. Understand that you're an author, but then you're a brand. So find out what you're going to be. Once the book is written, whether you're in the editing stage or whatever it is, that's the time to, like Mark said, put on your business hat, figure out your brand, because that's ultimately what's going to sell you. There are amazing authors out there. And then there's authors that are like, but they're still selling. You kind of have to figure out your plan and move it forward, and don't be afraid to ask for help to figure all that out.
Perfect. I think the advice I would give is twofold. One, be very wary of the traps where you're paying a lot of money to get your book published. It's one thing if you're paying an editor that you've validated and you know works well and understands what you're trying to do, typesetter. Same is true with a cover artist. Look at the stuff they've actually done and does it fit in your genre? Are they good at that? That sort of thing. Paying for those services, totally 1000% okay, but just be wary of all the traps of things going, I could get you 60,000 followers on Twitter. Like, but are those 60,000 people going to buy your book? Yeah, there's nobody can tell you those 60,000 people are interested in your book. So just be careful of spending money on things that don't necessarily end result in your book being sold, because that's the ultimate goal, is selling your book. And then the other thing I like to tell authors all the time is beware of self-editing. If you hit a point that you need to insert a gun here or a sex scene there or an action scene, just put a little comment and keep going. Don't stop. Don't go back and reread. Don't keep doing that, because you are never going to get that book to be perfect. Every time you go back through that book, you were a better writer than when you wrote the book. So you will literally get in a vicious cycle of never finishing the book, because it will never be good enough, because you keep improving as an author, and it's terrible. So get the words out, get the story out, get it done. Go back through it just for inconsistencies in the comments you've left, clean that up, and then give it to beta readers and move on writing the next story. Because otherwise, your work, your creativity will never go out the door.
I always say it's never done, it's just due.
Yes, exactly. So regardless if you're doing it or the publisher's doing it, pick your due date and just get it done and get it out the door. Because I think every one of us will unanimously agree. We go back to the first work we published, we could start reading and all of us are like, man, I could have done this better this way. Like every single one of us. But we can't do that, because then we would have never written the other stuff we've written, because we would be rewriting that first thing that we ever published. So
let it go.
I want to thank every single one of you. I love you all as friends, but I love that we've been able to do this podcast and we've been able to bring this entertainment, this education, this drunkenness, and this fun, not including my co-hosts that don't drink, but Val, I think I have to give the gold star to the best drunken moment of the last 100 episodes, when Val discovered champagne and quote unquote told me it was bubbly sweet wine, and then read the label and I'm like, that's champagne, and discovered very quickly that she can't handle champagne. I feel that was the best drunken moment.
I don't remember the episode ending. And Justin's like, how about you take a shower and lay down? Like when I came out, the husband's like, oh.
So that gets the best drunken moment of the last 100 episodes. So go Val for your continuing willingness to find stuff that puts you under the table. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
So thank you all very, very much. I think we're all looking forward to the next 100 episodes, which is super awesome, and all the authors and that we get to meet and re-meet, because we're very lucky people want to come back on our show regularly. So with that, do not forget to like, subscribe, leave comments, leave reviews. We love all of those things. And we'll see you next time.
Ciao.